What is going on, guys? Bengal again here, coming back at you with another video talking about the biggest risers from the Senior Bowl. If you do not know what the Senior Bowl is, the Senior Bowl is basically an all-star game every single year after the college football season is over for redshirt seniors and seniors in general, just to go out and showcase what they can do against some of the best other seniors in the country who got invites. So it's a collection from, as low as a D3 school all the way up to, Alabama guys at the top of Division I in the best conference in college football in the SEC, which I don't think is debatable. It might be a point for argument and contention in the comment section, but I mean, Alabama's at the top. You can't disagree with that. They just have been. Clemson, ACC, not really quite there yet, even though Clemson's been so good. But yeah, we're going to be talking about some of the biggest risers from the Senior Bowl. I'm going to include clips from Twitter with different angles from guys down in Mobile, just so you guys have something to look at. But mainly kind of a free-form video, just talking about some of the guys who were impressive. I'll also show some video of different reps from receivers and stuff via Brad Kelly. I'll include his link down in the description if you want to check out his channel. But mainly just showcasing some of the different clips from Twitter in like different all-22 camera angles for the most part. So first off, I want to talk about quarterbacks. Kellen Mond was super impressive. He had a really good game. If you didn't watch the game, Kellen Mond was incredible. I think that he's a developmental quarterback. I don't think that's too crazy to say, but he definitely has a lot of potential. His arm talent's pretty good. He kind of seems like an extreme budget Kyler Murray type player right now. Definitely is a little bit bigger, and they both went to Texas A&M for a time. Kellen Mond for longer than Kyler Murray. But Mond is a decent player. He was really interesting to evaluate on tape. I'm going to have to go back and do it again because he was someone that I don't even know if he's good or bad. It's really tough because he makes some crazy plays, makes some crazy bad plays, is inconsistent, but he showed out at the Senior Bowl. I think he definitely boosted his stock with a really good game and a good week of practices. Mond probably goes anywhere from day 2 to day 3. I think he was probably a day 3 guy prior to this week of Senior Bowl practices. I do think a team is going to take a chance on him, though. Not to be the starter right away, or maybe not even in 2 or 3 years, but I think Kellen Mond, after being on a team and getting into an offense, if one remains consistent, can be a decent starting option if somebody goes down with injury, or as maybe your future developmental franchise type player in 4 or 5 years. He's going to be a really interesting player to keep a watch on, but definitely boosted his stock at the Senior Bowl. Another guy who boosted his stock was Mac Jones. Didn't actually play in the Senior Bowl game, but looked very good the entire week of practices. Mac Jones' ball placement was very good. He doesn't have the craziest arm, but what I do think he has is great leadership ability. That's been talked about time and time again of late, and teams are going to value that because even if the arm talent isn't incredible, if he can just be accurate enough and solid enough and unify a team enough, he's going to be a solid starter. I think he probably ends up going first round. I don't think he goes as high as top 10, but if guys like Daniel Jones can go top 10, Mac Jones in a worse quarterback class definitely would be in that conversation. However, it is a really strong quarterback class with a ton of upside. I think Mac Jones goes in round 1, round 2 at the latest, but I think a team is going to like what they can get in a potential future leader of their team, even if his ability isn't off the charts crazy. I also think it was a really good week for slot receivers in general. Taking a look at Kadarius Toney here, and he was someone who we already really knew what Kadarius Toney was about. An unbelievable mover with the football, and even without it, he showcased the ability to get elite separation against some of the top competition in the entire country. Toney is always going to be someone who's a major weapon with the football just because he moves like he's inhuman. His cuts are so quick. It's surprising he doesn't tear a knee every single time he makes a cut, but no one can keep up with him. It's not elite speed, but it's elite agility and quickness and change of direction that makes Toney an elite separator. I think a team's going to value what he can bring to the table. He's not a polished receiver at all. His hands are inconsistent, I would say, at best, and his catching technique is also quite poor at times. But what Toney does have is the biggest strength of any receiver, which is being able to separate at an elite level consistently. His route running is very good. His technique as a route runner is very good. I think Kadarius Toney solidified himself as a round 1 guy. His ability to turn a screen into a 15, 20-yard play, if not more. His ability to get open over the middle as a slot receiver in the NFL, and even as a gadget-type player, maybe like the way the Panthers use Curtis Samuel at times, Kadarius Toney, even Tyreek Hill at times, Kadarius Toney is going to be an elite weapon at the next level. I think probably a round 1, round 2 at the latest type player. It was also awesome to see guys like Kade Johnson. We're going to talk about a lot about slot receivers here. Kade Johnson, receiver out of South Dakota State. I can only name one other South Dakota State player in the league, and that's Dallas Goedert. But Kade Johnson definitely has a ton of potential. He dominated the Senior Bowl from someone that, likely you've never heard of going into the Senior Bowl, and especially going into the draft right now. Kade Johnson really wasn't someone that a lot of guys had their eyes on, and then you see him in these one-on-ones. You see elite route running ability. You see how he stacks bigger corners. He can get over the top. He can make contested catches. Kade Johnson was really, really good. He showcased his poise out there and his ability to separate. That's the thing I value the most of any receiver, is how well can you separate, and Kade Johnson showcased elite route running ability and projects as a really good slot player. Draft projection can get a little bit tough with a player like this, especially in a really, really good receiving class. I see him as day 2 at the highest at the moment. I think he's probably an early day 3 guy. I see Kade Johnson probably going in rounds 3 to 5. I think he's going to be a really good player. Again, slot receiver that projects really, really well at the next level with a little bit more development. He's a solid player. I think his floor is fairly high. This was maybe even the best rep of his entire Senior Bowl practice one-on-ones. Really good to fight through press, stack the corner over the top, push him down by the waist, which is really not going to get called as a push-off ever, and then make the contested catch at the sideline. He's just so elite at creating separation. I really like Kade Johnson as a prospect, and yeah, like 3rd, 4th round, I think is his sweet spot, and a team is going to get a really good weapon in the future in the slot. D'Wayne Eskridge from Western Michigan is also someone I've tweeted about recently. Another guy who's really good at creating separation. He's another slot guy, 5'9". All these guys we're going to talk about are slot receivers coming up. But he's been really, really good at creating separation, using proper technique as a route runner and receiver catching the football. I like D. Eskridge a lot. I don't know if he's D'Wayne or D. I've seen both. I've seen mainly D'Wayne, but on his Twitter, he's D. Eskridge. He played corner at Western Michigan as well. In 2019, he took a lot of reps as a cornerback. This is a really, really good athlete that was just playing at Western Michigan, so you don't think of a player, coming out of there as someone that can be a top pick, other than maybe Corey Davis, who ended up going top 5. But D'Wayne Eskridge could be a really, really solid player. He showcased all the things we talked about. He's a good athlete as well, offers a lot maybe in the return game, but showcased great hands. He's able to pluck the football out of the air, as we just saw in that rep. D'Wayne Eskridge has really, really good potential as a slot weapon as well. His movement's crazy. I see him as probably a day 2 type player. Round 2 or 3 could be a really, really good weapon. And I do like to consistently call these guys weapons because the more and more we see these West Coast offenses implemented in the NFL, slot receiver is a super important position. Even if it seems like, oh man, we'd rather have a typical X or even a Z. We like those outside guys. Well, the slot guys can be super effective. You look at some of the guys doing a lot of damage in the slot. Keenan Allen is an amazing slot receiver, and he's regarded as one of the best receivers in the league. Shi Smith is someone at South Carolina that really, really didn't get to showcase his true ability very often because of very poor quarterback play, but he's another polished route runner that could be really, really effective in the slot. You see that rep there. Body control, finding the football, plucking it out of the air, separating over the middle here. Shi Smith is another guy who boosted his stock a lot. Probably another day 2, early day 3 type player at the latest. I think Amari Rodgers is in the same boat. Receiver out of Clemson. Another slot guy. I also think he can be used out of the backfield. He's built almost like a running back. But as you can see on that rep, this is a guy who can make contested catches. Now, this is not exactly the toughest matchup. He's going up against Sean Davis, who looked terrible all week. He's a safety. And in these one-on-ones, Sean Davis just can't hang. And that was super, super apparent. But Amari Rodgers, stretch release there, does great to create separation at the line, beating press. And it's just a really, really good example of how he can be used at the next level. These are slot guys. That's most often going to be what you're doing as a slot receiver, is beating press, getting over the middle for a slant. That happens pretty frequently. You're going to see off coverage as well, don't get me wrong. But a lot of the times, how can you beat press against a safety matching up in the box? And it's clearly very easily. Ball's not where it needs to be. I think the route kind of trailed off a little bit at the end there. But Amari Rodgers looked really, really good. Crushes safety coverage there. Bad throw. He's wide open. Rodgers is probably another day 2 type player, maybe very early day 3. The receiver class is so talented, but Rodgers, I think, is going to be taken fairly high. He's a guy who's coming from a prestigious school at Clemson, highly recruited. He's going to be able to impact the team fresh out the gate, if I had to guess. And maybe the most interesting of all the slot receivers, we have Demetric Felton here. This is a running back. Played a lot of running back at UCLA, and this week played as a receiver at the Senior Bowl and showcased his ability not only as what he brings to the slot, but maybe even playing on the outside occasionally. Demetric Felton was really, really solid for a guy that's still fresh to the position. His route running was pretty good. He showcased the ability to high point the football as well, make some contested catches. I think the hands are a little bit of a concern, and the route running is not polished yet. But overall, as a project gadget type player, Demetric Felton's got to be at the top of a lot of boards. I think another guy that probably goes somewhere day 2, I think maybe round 3 to 5 type player, maybe early day 3. And I keep saying that about a lot of these guys, but it's a really, really strong receiver class. How much do you value a slot receiver? I do think it's fairly important and more important than ever. But Demetric Felton, a little bit of a project, a little bit of a question mark about where you play him. But I think you don't sweat it. You play him in the situations where you can get him involved as a mismatch, whether it's out of the backfield in a Ty Montgomery type role at times, or maybe if it's even as a wide receiver. I think he showcased the ability to win one-on-one down the field, and that was a big question mark. Can this guy play receiver? And I think the answer is overwhelmingly yes. Wasn't a bad week for outside receivers either. I think Tylan Wallace, even though he might project as a combo slot outside guy, maybe the way that Keenan Allen is and has been used, Tylan Wallace was really, really good. He's an easy separator over the middle. Another guy who probably was projected to go fairly high prior to getting injured at Oklahoma State. Had a pretty good year. I like Tylan Wallace a lot. Really, really solid route runner. Easy hands, good body control. A lot of great traits you look for in a receiver. I think he's probably a round 2 or 3 guy. It's a strong receiver class. I'm not going to mention everyone who performed well at the Senior Bowl. Sage Surratt was another guy who had a pretty good week. Frank Darby, I think, impressed some guys. But we can't mention and showcase everybody. I do want to talk about Cornell Powell, though. Another Clemson receiver. He projects way more as an outside guy than a type of guy like Amari Rodgers. He was underused at Clemson, I think. There's just a lot of really good players there. And Cornell Powell, despite having a pretty good year this year, just was never really the focal point of the offense. But he has everything you look for in solid route running, easy possession receiver. He's got good hands. Cornell Powell definitely boosted his stock. Probably not a round 2 type player, probably more in that 3 to 5, 6 range even. But Cornell Powell definitely has plus upside. And the last outside guy we're going to talk about is Nico Collins, guy that opted out in 2020, and he's a deep threat. That's what he is. 6'4" around for Nico Collins, and he's not exactly a DK Metcalf type player. I don't think he has the deep speed that DK Metcalf has, but he's definitely someone that can get over the top and do so with regularity. He tracks the football really well. That's a tough play to make. But Nico Collins projects well as an outside deep threat at the next level, someone that can just take the top off the defense despite not having elite speed. He's got good technique as an outside guy, beats press fairly well. I think we're probably going to see a pretty good example of that on this rep. Inside release, stacks, gets over the top, and now he has it. Good throw. That's a catch. I mean, way to, drag the feet on the sideline. But yeah, this is a deep threat at the next level. And what do you have with him as an every down type of receiver? I'm not exactly sure yet, because he does need refinement as a route runner. I'm not sure he can run some of these shorter routes at the moment. But certainly as a deep threat, this is a plus guy. Good athlete. I'd like to tell you that this is a round 2 type player because of his upside. I think he probably should go a little bit later than that, maybe round 3 or 4. It'll be interesting to see where a team takes him and how they value him, but definitely a very, very good deep threat. Maybe the best in the class outside of the top 4 or 5 guys. I mean, look at this rep. Inside release, fights through contact, holds the corner off, high points the football. That's what you get from Nico Collins at the next level, and teams will value that. It's certainly a little bit tougher to evaluate running backs in the practices. But Michael Carter's someone that was really, really good in the game. And it's a tough running back class to evaluate because both UNC guys, Michael Carter and Javonte Williams, are quite good. They shared the backfield at UNC this past season. Javonte Williams was probably a little bit better, but Michael Carter's also really good. Was crazy good in the game. I don't think either of the UNC backs are as good as Travis Etienne or Najee Harris, but Michael Carter was really, really solid and definitely someone that I think should be considered to be taken fairly high in the draft. Round 2, round 3 type guy. He's definitely a top 5 running back in the class. He's explosive. He's got quick feet. He's agile. And he's really, really good at forcing missed tackles. And that's, what are you looking for from a running back than forced missed tackles? Michael Carter, top 4 running back in the class, certainly. I also think Keith Taylor was especially impressive. And when I evaluated Keith Taylor on tape, his biggest issue was tackling. I don't think going downfield and making pass breakups is ever going to be a big issue for him. I think he's someone that can run with guys. I think he's someone that's physical enough to play good coverage. You see there he is, I think against Nico Collins, just pretty much completely shutting him down on this rep. Stays all over him. That's never going to get called as defensive pass interference as holding. It's just really, really good coverage. They're fighting there, hand fighting, playing physical football, which you love to see. And Keith Taylor is someone that I think has plus upside in the NFL for sure. His size, athleticism, and already as a press man corner, I think offers you a ton for a defense. He can't tackle. That's a problem. But it's a problem I care less about than what he does to cover down the field. That's the thing. It's what do you value from a corner? Can they make every tackle or can they shut down a receiver? I think Keith Taylor is good. I always kind of undervalue tackling at the cornerback position. So when a guy gets knocked down because he's not a great tackler or boosted up because he can make all the tackles, great. You want a corner that can tackle, put him in the slot. You want an outside corner that shuts down an opposite receiver, I value that a lot higher. And that's not to say that tackling's not important. It is. But it's the same reason that maybe a guy like Jeff Okudah goes higher than CJ Henderson, who was a better cover corner in college. You value the cover guy, and you hope you can teach him tackling. Not every rep's going to be perfect, but I think Keith Taylor's another guy that probably goes round 2, maybe round 3. I like him a lot. I think he could get boosted up into round 1. It's not an amazing corner class, and teams always need cornerbacks. So it comes down to how much does a team value someone that fits a system? I think this is someone that fits in the NFC West really well, in a division that has valued big cornerbacks for a while. You look at Seattle, especially. I think he would fit well in San Francisco as well. So this is a guy I think that could sneak in around 1 just because of his upside. Ifeatu Melifonwu was also awesome. Syracuse corner. Not every rep was amazing. I think he played really well in the game. But Melifonwu is another guy with super, super good size and length the teams are going to covet, and another guy that could probably go as high as round 1. I don't think he goes round 1. I think he's probably more of a round 2 or 4 type player, but definitely a lot of upside there. Now probably my favorite DB performance of the entire Senior Bowl week, which is Richie Grant. I almost want to call Richie Grant the best safety in the class right now because I think he offers you a lot of versatility. In a lot of these drills and a lot of these one-on-ones, you were able to see him match up as a cornerback. He's a guy that I think can actually play as a boundary corner, which is pretty unbelievable saying that. I didn't think that would be someone that would be able to play boundary corner, but I think he's already a plus slot corner in the league, already a plus safety in the league. Richie Grant might be the best safety in this class because of his versatility. He was so good in so many different ways. That versatility is extremely valuable, and the ability to play as a plus slot corner, which is an important position in the league now, or a plus safety is extremely valuable. I think a guy that could certainly go round 1, probably round 2. And I would say maybe my second favorite performance of any DB at the Senior Bowl was Amari Thomas. This guy was physical at the line of scrimmage, and he was shutting down big receivers. You look against Sage Surratt here. Big-bodied guy. He's about 6'2", 6'3", plays bigger than that. And Amari Thomas stuck with him the whole way, follow the route, shut him down. And now that's not exactly Sage Surratt's game right there. Sage Surratt isn't someone that's going to run past you and, kill you as a route runner. But trying to beat press man right there. Amari Thomas stays on him and stays with him. Good press at the line, way to stay with him, and way to make the pass break up. Good deflection there. Amari Thomas is someone that impressed me a ton, coming from a prestigious program as well. That's always valuable to teams. And I think another guy that probably ends up going round 2 or 3. I liked him a lot. I think he has a ton of potential. Teams are always looking for press man guys, and Thomas is someone that definitely has that ability. Another guy who had a little bit of hype going up into the Senior Bowl was Aaron Robinson out of UCF. I think he's in Daniel Jeremiah's top 32 or so, and he showcased every reason why. Another great physical, aggressive press man corner who is a little bit grabby. Does remind me of J.C. Horn at South Carolina in this year's class, but Aaron Robinson is definitely someone that is going to take what, the ref's going to give him. He's physical, but he's not overly physical. He's physical and aggressive enough. He also showcased a ton of great recovery here. He got kind of beat inside for a minute and just easy recovery. It's not a great route here. It's a slip. I think that's Trevon Grimes. But Robinson has easy recovery speed. He's someone that played a lot of slot corner at UCF, and I think does have easy boundary potential as well. It's just way to stay with him. Basically, he stays in phase there, and if you don't know what that means, that's basically staying on the receiver's hip. He's a little bit behind Kadarius Toney. If that's a better pass, that's maybe a touchdown, but it's good recovery speed to get back in the play when Kadarius Toney gets over the top, get back in phase, and make the play. Trey McKitty is also someone we need to talk about. He was underused for sure out of Georgia. I think he was a Florida State transfer, if I'm not mistaken, but he was definitely the most athletic tight end, the best tight end at the Senior Bowl, and that is going to be extremely valuable. It's tough to say where McKitty is going to go in the draft because you're drafting on upside and not production at all, but McKitty definitely has top potential. I would say he's around a top 5 tight end in the class. It is tough. We have Kyle Pitts as the easy number 1. I would have probably Pat Freiermuth at number 2. Hunter Long's in the conversation for number 3. Brevin Jordan's in the conversation for number 3. Tommy Tremble's probably in the conversation as well for top 3 to 5 tight end in the class. But so is Trey McKitty. He was really good at the Senior Bowl. I think he's certainly in that top 5 tight end conversation, if not as high as top 3. You're drafting for upside, though. Probably an early day 3 guy. I could see him going as high as maybe the 3rd or 4th round, but I think probably round 5, 6 is his sweet spot. And now for my favorite. I love evaluating defensive linemen. It's always my favorite. I know it's probably a less sexy position for a lot of you guys, but I absolutely love it. I love the rush moves, and I love seeing a guy just aggressive off the line of scrimmage. And the brother of Owamabe Odigizua, former Giants 3rd round pick, I want to say, out of UCLA. Where's his brother, Osa Odigizua? Bigger player, probably going to be a 3-4 defensive end, maybe 4-3 D tackle. I think he can definitely play the 3 technique. I also think he has the athleticism to play 4-3 defensive end as someone that rushes inside, maybe in the same way that Carlos Basham does, who we'll talk about a little bit later. But Osa Odigizua was really good. He was phenomenal. He was nearly unblockable at times. I think he's someone with a ton of potential. Creed Humphrey does a really good job against him there. But Odigizua was really solid. Really solid. Now, is he a round 1 guy? No. Is he a round 2 guy? Maybe. I think that's when you start talking about Osa Odigizua. High upside, high potential. I think he's probably a round 3 to 4 guy, but a lot of potential. It's a weaker defensive tackle class from what I can tell at the moment, just in that there's no real top IDL in the class right now. It's not like Davion Nixon's a projected top 10 type player. It's not like there's really anyone that's a top 10, even top 15, top 20 projected IDL at the moment. Maybe even Levi Anzarike is in there, but it's tough to say. Osa Odigizua definitely boosted his stock. Versatile front type player. Yeah, probably round 3 or 4. But let me tell you, someone that was super impressive, probably the best D lineman at the Senior Bowl, was Carlos Basham. Trey Smith, it was really good there as well. We'll talk about him in a little bit at the end of the video. But Carlos Basham was another guy who was near unblockable. I think he fits in the same way that Osa Odigozua does. I think he has the athleticism to play 4-3 defensive end, but also probably best as someone that rushes inside, B-gap, C-gap, rotational type player. I like Carlos Basham. His tape wasn't overly impressive to me. His numbers certainly were, but his performance at the Senior Bowl was awesome. He showcased a ton of different rush moves. He showcased the speed, the burst to get off the line of scrimmage in a hurry, and then the technical ability to finish at the quarterback. So Boogie, Basham, Carlos Basham, he could go round 1 for sure. It's not a particularly strong edge class at the top either. There are a lot of players that I like, don't get me wrong. But again, there's no Chase Young. There's no one even that close to Chase Young. So getting the order of the top 5 to 10 edge rushers in the class is a little bit difficult. But I think Basham definitely has a conversation inside that top 5. And when you're inside the top 5 at a position that's as valued as edge is, this could be a round 1 guy. And then the last guy we'll talk about is Cameron Sample from Tulane. He was another guy who was really, really good. As you can see, just easy bull rush there. Get past Deontay Brown on the speed rush. This is a guy with plus potential. Tulane's going to have 2 really, really good defensive linemen in this class who are not going to go very high in the draft, I'd have to guess. But I think Sample definitely played his way up into round 2. He was probably a guy that was sitting, round 3 to 5. But I think this is a guy, and again, not a super strong interior defensive line class that could go as high as round 2. Cameron Sample was super, super impressive in one-on-ones and could be a very, very big problem at the next level. And then of the 2 offensive linemen I'll talk about, Trey Smith. He was someone that was super highly recruited, had some injury concerns and a weird heart thing at Tennessee, but his play was always top-notch, and he was nearly, unstoppable. In Mobile this week at the Senior Bowl, he was an anchor, he was a menace, and he was a problem. He was a brick wall. Really, really good, and I think definitely first-round potential. I feel like a lot of mock drafts have taken him out of the first round, and I don't know if I necessarily agree with that. This is a guy that's definitely a plus interior offensive lineman at the next level. I think he has tackle flexibility, although his best spot is going to be at guard. Really, really powerful mauler, and someone that is really, really tough to beat off the line in pass protection. Trey Smith, round 1, round 2 guy. And the last guy I'll talk about is the story of the Senior Bowl, Quinn Miners out of Wisconsin Whitewater. He's probably going to be an interior offensive lineman. I like him at center. He's physical. He's not the biggest guy in the world, but this is a mauler. This is someone who probably isn't the most refined in pass protection, but is a mauler in the run game. Loves a good pancake and was really, really good against some of the top senior defensive linemen in the country. Quinn Miners showcased a ton of ability as a D3 player. He's still a little raw, but was really, really solid overall. I think he could go as high as round 3. He's probably in that round 3 to 5. And from a D3 guy that wasn't really talked about at all leading up into the Senior Bowl, well, he was really, really good there. Yeah, had some reps where he's, showcasing, okay, he is a D3 type player. We get that. Not every rep's going to be amazing. Here he is against Patrick Jones. Patrick Jones is interesting. I love his explosiveness. I love his aggression as well on the defensive line. Tries like a Superman rush move there. And when you get up in the air and you get caught, you're not going anywhere. Quinn Miners did a really good job of making sure of that, staying on him, forcing him to the ground. Miners has a ton of potential. I think a guy that GMs are going to love. I mean, look at him here. That's against Levi Onwuzurike. Just crushed him. Bye-bye. I mean, how can you not love that? I get that offensive line play isn't the sexiest thing in the world, but you gotta love a good pancake and just a big boy just overrunning another mammoth human being. But that is gonna do it for my Senior Bowl risers. I know a lot of names to talk about. A lot of these guys are gonna be quote-unquote draft sleepers, but the Senior Bowl week was really fun. I know I'm getting this video out a little bit late. It is already, Wednesday? And the Senior Bowl was on Saturday, and the week of practice was, of course, the week before. But a lot of really, really fun guys to look at, to talk about. Let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Who did I miss out on? Jabril Cox was someone I wanted to talk about as well. So Jabril Cox, we're going to say, is in this conversation as well as someone who boosted their stock. Deontay Brown on the offensive line. I mean, there were a lot of really good players who definitely boosted their stock. Can't include everybody. These guys were the most impressive to me. Again, let me know what you think down in the comment section below. Subscribe if you're not subscribed already, and I'll see you in the next one. Take it easy.
Insane, I hit it at the park, bend bones. See me high step to the end zone. My life like a game, Nintendo. Playing with the best, let them know. Get off the track, the train's coming through. Yeah, promise you get in my way, then you best believe I'ma just run over you. Yeah, yeah. Pump and turn, taking it back to the house. Defensive joke, I'm laughing so loud. Speed burst good.